Hello, I'm Liz Zorab and this is Byther Farm. Well, except today I'm with Tony at UKHWG. When Tony came to do the live chat with me in January, we were talking quite a lot about potatoes, and there were lots and lots of questions from you about what was the best time of year to sow them or plant them. Did we need to chit them? Just what happened next. So we thought today we would give you a quick demonstration of planting some early potatoes. So what variety have we got?
We're using a variety called Charlotte. They're a second early potato, and they are a salad potato, so they're quite a waxy potato.
Nice.
Fantastic in salads, and they're great boiled as well. So we'll be planting these today, and planting first and second earlies are a little bit different to planting main crop, and we'll go through that as we go.
So we're going to plant these in a container. They can be planted in the ground as well, but for demonstration purposes we're going to use this great big bucket.
Yeah.
So Tony, off you go.
First off, I grow a lot of my potatoes in these buckets. They're fantastic, and there's a couple of reasons behind that, and the first of those is you get to control the growing environment.
Yeah.
When you have soil, that soil can dry out, it can crack, potatoes get blown all shapes and sizes. You might have a late frost. Yeah. With a container like this, you can pick it up and take it to the tunnel. Yeah, so they're fantastic, and you can start them early. You can start them now if you want to, put them in the tunnel, and as soon as they start showing, get them out into the weather, the sun, providing we've got good weather and there's no frost forecast.
So if you haven't got a tunnel, you can use your porch.
Anyway, your garage. You're only putting them there overnight, or for the day that frost is there. Once the frost is gone, you can put them straight back out. They'll be fine. So the first thing that we want to do really is think about the medium we're going to grow in, and for that I tend to use a really good compost. As you can see, it's nice and light. There's no massive pieces in it, which is great for the roots to penetrate through. And the first thing we want to do, it's really well broken down, and the first thing we want to do is put a good couple of inch layer in the bottom of the bucket. Now this bucket, Liz, it's got 4 big holes in the bottom, and right around the circumference there's holes as well, which will aid in drainage. All right, but we're not going to put any stone or anything down in that. It's going to be straight compost, straight to the bottom. And
so why aren't you putting any stones in there? Because I know lots of people like to put broken crocks and things. Why don't we do that?
When we were talking about earlier on with regards to water retention, the potatoes will actually send roots out through the bottom of those holes, and it'll go down into the ground. So if for any reason you forget to water, they will send roots down into the ground as well. So you get the best of both worlds if there's moisture.
Makes perfect sense.
All right. Yeah. So what we've got here, Liz, we've got a couple of inches in the bottom. Yeah. Now we want to add a bit of feed to that, and loads of people ask about feed all the time. Now, one of the main feeds I use is this. This is blood, fish, and bone, and it's literally just ground up meal. Okay, and we want to add about 3 ounces. But I've split that down into like 1.5 ounce. So we'll have 1.5 ounces in the bottom, and then we'll put 1.5 ounces in the top. And another thing I add is this. This is a pelleted potato feed. It's organic, and the NPK on this is 6-10-10. Right. So it's really good as well for potatoes. It's got everything a potato's going to need. And again, probably about 1.5 in there. It doesn't need huge amounts. We give that a good mix in.
So loads of potassium in it, which is going to encourage the tubers.
Yeah, absolutely. So we need that little bit of nitrogen for the start to get that foliage going. But we don't want too much nitrogen, because otherwise you're going to have all top growth and no potatoes. And that's why
last year when I grew my potatoes in the chicken bedding, a massive amount of nitrogen in it, and the tops were huge. So I had sort of 4 feet at least of top growth. And not a lot of potatoes.
Yeah, and that's why.
Good lesson learned, that one.
So when you're looking at any potato feed, guys, you want to be nitrogen to start with, but not too high, and then you need that potassium in there. So get loads of potassium. So a good 10 and above for potassium, and you're laughing. Now, with these potatoes, normally I chit them, but obviously I haven't had time for this presentation. But they do have little chits. Now I want to talk about chitting.
Yeah.
Do you chit, Liz?
I do chit some, but the reason that I chit them is because I'm just itching to get growing, get something growing. But then I think about farmers, they don't have fields full of potatoes sitting there chitting, they just plant them.
But there is a reason why they don't chit. It's, number one, they don't have the space to do it. But number two, you don't see farmers putting out their potatoes now. No. Yeah, that soil is always warm before they put them out. Yeah, so then the potato, as the heater, needs to go. The issue that you have in this country is you order your seed potatoes usually over Christmas. You get them delivered to you in January and you're sat there with a bag of potatoes, and I know loads of you have been speaking about why have you got these really long white shoots on your potatoes, what can you do with them? The only way to deal with that is snap them off and re-chit the potato. They will re-chit, so just snap off them long shoots. The reason for that is the potato's looking for light. Yeah. So when you're chitting them, you have to keep them in a really bright place, and it's got to be cold. Yeah. It needs to be frost free, but cold. Yeah. Okay. Now, Liz has just looked at some of my potatoes that I stored from an old video. Yes. And there's not a chit on them.
They're looking really good. Yeah. The flip side to that is that last weekend I was sharing some potatoes that I'd had in my kitchen. And I had forgotten that they were in the container they were in. And it's a dark container, and it's pretty, not complete, but pretty much light proof, and they were in the warm, so all the conditions you don't want for chitting your potatoes, and they have got about foot long stems on them.
Be interesting to see them grow.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. It was a red potato, so it's not a long white stem, it's a long purple stem. And they are desperately seeking light because they've been in the warmth and in the dark. So everything you don't want to do with a potato, those ones have accidentally happened. Yeah. My potatoes that are chitting look exactly as they should do. Very, very small green growth just coming on them.
Good stumpy growth.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for, guys. So with first and second earlies, okay, we want to be looking at putting 4 seed potatoes per one of these 30-litre buckets. With main crop, you only want 2 in there, okay? Second and a first early potato don't get that big, so you need the seed in there to make use of the compost, because obviously putting compost in these does cost. What we do then, we just set 2 of the potatoes down into the soil like this, and then we're going to cover it over a couple of inches again on top of that, probably about halfway up the bucket. Now, a lot of people have said to me before, well, what about just put them in a little layer over, let them grow through, and then start filling them up? Guys, don't do that. You're going to end up breaking them homes, and you really set the potatoes back. Fill the bucket. It takes them a bit longer to come through, but you'll have a much stronger potato plant for it. So we're now halfway up the bucket, and we need 2 more potatoes. Again, you can see the chits coming out in these, and we were here and here before, so we now do opposites. So in effect, we're creating a cross. Yeah. Okay. And what we're going to do now, if you notice, I didn't put feed in that middle part. We're now going to cover over up to about 3/4. I'll add the feed, and then we'll top off again. And the reason we're adding the feed above is obviously the water will drag that feed down over the potatoes. So again, another sort of 1.5 ounces of blood fish and bone and of the potato fertilizer, and we just mix that in now across the top like this, and that is enough feed for these potatoes for the whole year, for the whole growing cycle. Guys, you don't need any more than that. Now, I have videos, and I know Liz has had videos where we've put in more feeds before. You don't want to be wasting feed for no reason. Sometimes it can be counterproductive. So we're now right on that. The only other thing we need to do now is top this right up to the top. So just firm that down just a little bit. We might need to just tap it a bit more, but I always like it about 1 inch under the surface, under the rim.
A room for watering.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're watering, what happens with compost, and you may have seen it on other plants, is you water, and because the compost is dry, it all flows over the top. Yeah. So by having that rim there, you can let it sit there, let it drain through, and then you can water it again. Okay. Now, when it comes to watering, with these, ideally you want to be sticking your finger in the soil like that, and if your finger comes out with any compost stuck to it, then it's wet enough. If it comes out like it just did, which is nothing on there, then it's time to water. You don't want to be over watering them because they will rot.
To rot them, yeah.
Alright, other than that, that's it. That's the 4 potatoes in. It's got enough feed in that bucket. We can now put that in a greenhouse, a polytunnel, a conservatory, something like that to get it shooting. And when the last frost is there, we can pull it out. But on days like today, we are in the end of February. It's beautiful, it's warm.
Lovely day
it's
today,
about 10 degrees, something like that. About 10 degrees. So it's perfect time to bring them out. If they started shooting, bring them out. When you're putting them back in the conservatory overnight, if there's a frost due, maybe you want to cover them over with a bit of fleece.
So these Charlottes are second earlies, and they are going to take 12 to 14 weeks.
Yeah. And so your first early is usually around about 10 to 12 weeks, seconds 12 to 14, and then main crop can be up to 18 weeks.
Yeah.
So you know, but what you'll find with container grown potatoes is your crop will be there much quicker.
Yeah.
So you can actually speed up your harvest time because the black containers absorb that sun, so it helps the potato plant to take up the nutrients much faster, and of course you get a bigger crop because of it.
Yeah. So if you have any other questions about starting your potatoes, please leave them in a comment below. Tony, thanks so much for today. It's been really nice to come and spend a bit of time. And while I'm here, I'm going to help him with his garden a little bit. This is as a thank you for when he moved the wild damson or plum tree or whichever it was up by the farm. And so we are preparing vegetable beds, and the veg that Tony's getting in today, or we are getting in today, is some asparagus. So if you want to see Tony's video, check out Tony's channel, UKHWG, and obviously I'll leave a link up there and below. And so wherever you are in the world and whatever you've got planned for today, I hope it's a good one, and I also hope you'll join me again next time.
Bye guys.